Welcome to my channel. I'm Jasmine, if you didn't know, and on today's video, I want to talk about complex regional pain syndrome. Complex regional pain syndrome is a nerve condition that I was diagnosed with roughly 9 months ago. I knew nothing about it, didn't even know it existed. So I feel like this video will help people that may be going through the same thing I'm going through as a young 22-year-old college student just trying to figure out life. Okay, so what is complex regional pain syndrome? Complex regional pain syndrome, also known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So sometimes you might hear me say RSD, you might hear me say CRPS. It just really depends on whatever comes out of my mouth at the time. So complex regional pain syndrome is a chronic pain that's typically found in your legs, your arms, your fingers, your toes, basically any extremity on your body that can be affected, that has nerves in it, which is basically everything. There's really no known factor, no common denominator when it comes to complex regional pain syndrome. They do know that it's an abnormal inflammation or a nerve dysfunction. I keep looking down because I don't want to get the words wrong, so I'm looking at my phone. It's extremely rare. I'm actually in a group on Facebook with a bunch of people that have complex regional pain syndrome in the United States and out of the country. So there's a lot of United Kingdom, a lot of Germany. Like, there's a lot of people that have this, but it's still considered a rare disease. It's also known as the suicide disease. This complex regional pain syndrome is very, very painful. I am in pain as I talk, but as a college student, like I mentioned before, you just kind of have to roll with it. You don't really know what day, like what pain you might have on this day or that day. Like, it just really depends. Some days I can be in a lot of pain, like 10 out of 10, can barely get out of bed, but I still have to function as a normal college student because, let's face it, like, teachers don't understand. When I talk about CRPS, they think I done made it up. I get a lot of questions. It's like, so is it in your head? Like, did you make this up? Because we never heard of it. I actually went to get my hair done one day, and I was telling the guy that was doing my hair, and he was like, you made that up. I've never heard of it before, but you made it up. That's definitely in your head. Like, this doesn't even make sense. And I'm like, dude, you don't even understand. Like, I go through so much. These past 9 months have been something serious, let me tell you. So, complex regional pain syndrome, like I said before, is a chronic pain condition. It's not curable, but it's treatable, and it is possible to go into remission. I don't want this video to scare you and feel like, you're going to be in pain for the rest of your life, because I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that's what's going to happen. I can only tell you about my experiences and how I'm dealing with it. So far, some of the symptoms that I've experienced could be like pins and needles in your affected limb, really sharp pains. My 3 toes at the end of my foot are immobile now. They don't move. I have to physically move them with my hand if I want them to move. There's also color change. Your extremity that's affected changes colors. It might be darker, it might be lighter. It really just depends on the extremity. Like my foot ankle is lighter or darker. I'm not really sure. My doctors can tell. I can't. It's lighter or darker from my other foot. And I've also lost a lot of muscle. I have been in a boot for over a year. Of January 6th was when I had my accident. I had a fall. If you know the story, you know it. I'm not talking about it right now. That might come at a later date time. But right now, we're not going to talk about it. So, I had a fall. So, I dealt with it. I thought I broke it. I was a cheerleader for about 10 years. I've had a bunch of different injuries. So, I never really thought about it. Like, when I heard it, I put an ankle brace on and I called it a day because I still had things to do. It was my birthday weekend. My birthday's on January 6th. So, it was my birthday weekend. I was trying to, have fun with friends and family. And I was also working at the time. So, I had a lot, at stake. And I was still kind of doing things. I was home for winter break from school. So, that's kind of what I was doing when I hurt myself. So I went to the doctor because I just knew it wasn't right. And I have several doctors here in Memphis because I've broken so many bones my 10 years of cheering. So I made an appointment. I went to the doctor, and he instantly put me in a boot. He was like, probably just a bad sprain, nothing really showing up in the x-rays, but, you should be fine in a couple days. If you feel like you need to come back. If it gets worse, come back. So 3 days went by and I was back at the doctor. I was like, look, something is wrong. I've never felt a pain like this before. Like, I don't know what's going on, but this is not it. Like, I don't want it. I don't care. Like, something's got to give. We did some more x-rays. He scheduled me for MRI. X-rays were clear. MRI was clear. But I was still in pain. Still very unbearable pain. I think I used crutches for like 4 months, like January through April. I just knew something wasn't right. My parents knew something wasn't right. I'm not big at complaining. I don't complain that often. But we knew that something just wasn't right. So we did the MRI. That was clear. He was like, you need to start working on it. Like, you haven't worked on it in a few weeks. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's popping in your head. You've hurt yourself a lot, so you're just kind of telling yourself that you're hurting and you're probably not. And I'm like, look, I know when I'm hurting. I know when I'm not hurting, but I'm hurting really bad. So me and my mom and my dad made the ultimate decision to change doctors. So I changed doctors. I seen a orthopedic doctor, foot and ankle. Well, I seen a normal sports medicine doctor for orthopedics, and we did x-rays, MRIs, everything was clear. I was so annoyed during this time. So at that time, I was like, hey, well, I don't really know what's going on, but I've been hurting for a month at this point. So he throws me in a cast. He's like, what color you want? We're just gonna immobilize it for 2 weeks. So side note, immobilization is one of the things that can cause CRPS. So if I didn't have it before the cast, I definitely had it after. The cast definitely did not help my case. Okay, so I was put into a cast. I had it on for about a week, and I was taking a bath at school, getting ready to go to a baseball game, and my foot fell in the tub. Got soaking wet, and I thought I was gonna be fine because I had one of those nice handy dandy ankle, foot, leg cast cover things on from Walgreens, and it did not work. My cast was soaking wet, and there was nothing I could do to get it dry. I had another week in the cast, and like I said, I go to school 3 hours away from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. So I really didn't know what to do. I tried to blow dry it. I blow dried it for a very long time. It wouldn't dry because there's I don't know if you guys have ever had a cast before, but it has a lot of cotton, I guess you can say, like a lot of fluff. So once they get wet, it takes a long time to dry. I don't even know if it dries by itself. I don't know how it works. But anyway, so my cast was soaking wet. Went to the baseball game. It was still cold. This was in February. That's peak. At the very beginning of baseball season, I was sitting outside with a wet cast. So the next day, I went to a orthopedic doctor in the town that I go to school in, and they basically told me, there was nothing they could do because I didn't get the cast put on there. And at this point, I'm just begging them to take it off because I've read a bunch about what happens if you get your cast wet. You should get it off immediately. Well, I'm 3 hours away, so I can't go home right away. But I needed my cast off. Ultimately, they wouldn't take it off. I argued about it. They wouldn't take it off. So I had to do it for wet cast for another week. So I got there. Obviously, if my cast is wet, it's not doing its job. Whatever job it was supposed to be, because we really don't know what the purpose of the cast was. But it wasn't doing its job. So I explained to my nurses and my doctor that I got the cast wet the first week, couldn't come back and get a new one. He goes, okay, well, we're gonna put you in, in a regular shoe, give you an ankle brace. You should be fine. You've had it immobilized for a very long time. You've been in a cast. You've been in a boot for like a month and a half. And you've been in this cast for 2 weeks. Like, you should be walking on it now. It shouldn't be hurting. That was a lie. It was still hurting. I was still in a lot of pain. And that's what frustrates me the most because they can't really tell you how you're feeling. Doctors are there to doctor you, to diagnose you, to help you, to listen to you. But they cannot tell you that you should not be in pain. They cannot tell you how you should be feeling at the time. And they, just can't downgrade what you're feeling. Because at the end of the day, you know your body and you know how you are feeling, whether you're feeling great or you're not. If you're lying, you're just lying. But you know how you feel. And I know exactly at that moment that I was in a lot of pain and I should not be. Fast forward, that happened probably end of February, beginning of March. Some things happened in between March and April. I finally got a call to see a foot and ankle specialist at the doctor that I was seeing. They referred me to a foot and ankle specialist, so that meant, yay, I can maybe get something diagnosed on what's going on with my ankle. Maybe it's some tendons, maybe, some ligaments. Never in a million years thought I would have CRPS, but here we are. So the time that they wanted me to schedule my appointment was at the peak of finals. I couldn't just leave school. I had to finish finals. I had missed a lot of school, going back and forth from school to home for doctor's appointments. So I finally got my appointment at the beginning of June, and I described to my doctor what was going on, how I felt, and he immediately says, "It sounds like CRPS." And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? What is CRPS? Couldn't even figure out what words he was saying because he was foreign. So I didn't know what letters he was using. So I'm sitting here like trying to figure out so I can go, leave and Google it afterwards. I had no idea what he was talking about. I never heard of it. And then he starts talking about how I can potentially get my leg amputated if it's not treated. This and that. I never walk again. Like, I started freaking out. I went to the doctor by myself. I called my mom afterwards and I was bawling my eyes out. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to lose my leg. I don't know what's going on. He said all these big words and I'm just confused. I have another doctor appointment in this week. I have, next week I have all these tests that he wants to run. Like, I don't know what's going on. So here we are. CRPS, the beginning of June. A discovery, I guess. So after my orthopedic doctor discussed that I might have CRPS, he sent me to a pain specialist here in Memphis. I don't know if I'm supposed to say his name or not, so I'm just gonna, leave that out. If you want to know, you can comment down below, and I can definitely tell you. So, my doctor was amazing. He listened to everything I had to say. He took notes. This man loves to draw. He has an iPad and he has his, his iPen or whatever, his Apple Pen, and he draws. Like, he explained to me how my nerves are set up and how they're coming out of this little portal and they're like attacking each other, and that's where my pain's coming from. Like, he explained all of that. He took notes about everything that I said. Just really like took time instead of kind of brushing me off and like, you're young, whatever, you'll be fine. No, he actually sat down and listened to me. He talked to me and my mom, told us our options. So after my initial visit with my doctor, we had a lot of testing. I did some bone scans, some EMGs, sleep studies, like all these crazy things. And then I started my nerve blocks. Nerve blocks are probably my least favorite. I hate them. They hurt. They don't help me. I was on a lot of different medications as well. Nothing has helped thus far. I've had 6 nerve blocks in total. I want to say 4, which was in my spine and my back. So they stick me in the sacrotic nerve that's aligned my spine. Kind of like an epidural in a sense. You go to the ER. Well, you go to the operating room, and they give you some fluids and have you sign a bunch of paperwork. So you're in the pre-op room, and they take you to the operating room where they stick this large needle inside of you and insert some medicine, and then right then it's supposed to start working. Mine has yet to work. I've had one in my hip. I'm not exactly sure what nerve that was that they stuck me in. I'm gonna probably make another video on the different nerve blocks and like my experiences with it. So I had one there, and recently, about like 2 weeks ago, I had one in my knee. So they took a needle, they stuck me in my knee. That one worked for about 6 hours, so we're getting somewhere. Unfortunately, I can't have another nerve block because of the coronavirus epidemic that's going on. It's considered an elective surgery, so even though I'm in tons of pain, I have to suffer until this is all over. So just to sum this video up, CRPS is a chronic nerve condition that I've been dealing with for a little over a year. But I was officially diagnosed with it back in June, so about 9 months ago. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to make more like this one, and more about like, a day in the life, maybe some footage of doctor's appointments that I may attend, and little things like that. If you have any suggestions, comments, or concerns, make sure you comment down below. cut your post notifications on, subscribe to my video, and give me a big thumbs up.